Welcome back to Crypto Tutorial. On today's video, I would like to talk about XRP and how it's currently performing and what I think is very important right away. So the XRP compared to Bitcoin chart, and I'm right now looking at it on the 4-hourly time frame. What I wanted to show you is actually just the EMA ribbon over here. And what I think is very important is that we are right now, as you can see, clearly getting supported by the EMA ribbon. This is for the second time already since we saw this breakout above the orange box. The orange box is for sure an area of major support and resistance, and you can clearly see that we have been supported already multiple times on top of the orange box. Also, we have seen quite a level of resistance once we broke below the orange box. You can clearly see that it was quite difficult for XRP to actually break above the orange box and find support on top of it before heading even further, getting rejected, as you can clearly see, by the upper levels of the orange area, and going straight back down, seeing a decrease and also trading on top of the lower part of the orange box. So for sure, this is a major level of support and resistance. You can clearly see that by this level of resistance over here, and as well by the major levels of support that we have found on top of the lower part of the orange area. So for sure, this is something I wanted to show you and what I think is very interesting. So let's get a little bit further by taking a look at the daily time frame. And what you can clearly see is that the daily candles are as well perfectly being supported by this orange area. You can clearly see that they were rejected at this point in time once they tried to break above the orange box, and right now we are clearly seeing that the candles are being supported right on top of this orange box once again. So what is actually going on right now? I think this is very interesting, especially because if you take a look at, for example, the MACD, you can clearly see that a crossover will be inevitable during the upcoming days. For sure, this will have major influence on the strength compared to Bitcoin and where are we possibly heading towards. That is something I think is of utmost importance to take a look at, and that is why I will be enabling as well the moving averages. And what you can clearly see is that the moving averages are quite far below the current action of XRP. I still think this level at the orange box is a major level of support and resistance, and I would be very glad to see actually XRP being able to stay on top of this area over here. Perhaps that might not occur, but still I think that would be very nice. Otherwise, you have this second level over here, this thin orange line, where I think we could be possibly heading to, especially because if you take a look in the past, you could clearly see that we were finding support on top of it before we were breaking below it, finding resistance underneath it, and also before we saw this major increase, we saw that we found resistance underneath. So if we are seeing XRP heading back down, seeing a decrease in its strength compared to Bitcoin, we will for sure be heading, in my personal opinion, towards this level, perhaps accumulating before heading back up once again. So this is something I wanted to show you on the daily time frame compared to Bitcoin, and let's get back and take a look at the daily time frame compared to the USD. But before doing so, I wanted to show you something I think is very interesting, and that is actually this tweet of Glassnode alerts. And it's not about XRP, but it's about Ethereum, and the number of addresses holding 0.01 coins reached an all-time high of 16 million. So I think this is absolutely marvelous, and this was something I just wanted to let you know. Also, if you are interested in my Twitter, don't forget to follow me at Toro Crypto on Twitter, where I will be posting lots of updates about my channel and as well about cryptocurrencies overall. So let's get back. Let's take a look at the daily time frame compared to the US dollar. You can clearly see that also over here we are seeing the moving averages serving as a level of support underneath us. So if we see a breakout underneath this thin orange line, for sure I think this will be a major level of support. And as well, let's take a look at the MACD. The MACD on the XRP compared to Bitcoin chart, you can clearly see that we will be seeing a crossover eventually during the next upcoming hours. I personally think that this is very likely to occur, but of course this might be something that won't occur due to the fact that we might see an increase in Bitcoin's price action, and that would also influence XRP's price action, and XRP compared to the US dollar is still looking very strong to me personally, and that is why I wanted to show you the 4-hourly time frame. So if we take a look at the 4-hourly time frame, you can clearly see that the crossover might be occurring as well, but this time it won't be a crossover towards downward momentum, but instead it would be an upward momentum crossover. I think this is of utmost importance because this would actually be telling us that we might see an increase in XRP's price action. So the MACD is looking very strong to me on the 4-hourly time frame. Also, what I think is more important is the moving averages are actually serving as a major level of support, especially here. The 50-day moving average served as a major level of support once we saw this downward momentum getting started. And let's take a look at another momentum indicator that I would like to use, and that is actually just the moving average. But this time it's the 20-day moving average. You can clearly see that we broke underneath the 20-day moving average, but right now we are clearly getting supported by it at this point in time. And I think that is very interesting because this might perhaps help us to actually see a breakout towards the upside, especially because once we see XRP trade above the 20-day moving average, I'm actually very glad, because once it holds strong above it, you most of the time see major prices increases. And also this is telling me that we are still during an uptrend once we stay above the 20-day moving average. Okay, so the 20-day average looking very strong to me. Also, I think this trend line is something that you would like to take into consideration. So if you place this trend line all the way from here all the way towards where we are currently at, you can clearly see that we are still above this upward sloping support. And I think that is, of course, very interesting for XRP's price action. So I'm right now currently taking a look at this upward sloping support and if it will be able to hold strong above it for XRP's price action. But I think something more importantly is actually going on, and that is the pattern that we're clearly seeing getting formed on XRP's price action. And that is, for me personally, this symmetrical triangle. So I will be placing this line a little bit differently. I will be selecting it from this part on all the way towards here. You can clearly see that we are having 3 major touch points already on this upward sloping support, 1 at the beginning and 2 in the middle. And if we take a look at the second trend line, you can clearly spot that we are creating this symmetrical triangle. This symmetrical triangles are very important triangles, especially because they tend to proceed with the previous trend. And as you can clearly see, the previous trend was an uptrend, especially because we stayed above the 20-day moving average. You can clearly see that we were moving up, and if we break above this downward sloping resistance line, we will for sure see a major increase in XRP's price action. And I think that is also very likely to occur, especially because the MACD is actually telling us that we might see a crossover during the upcoming hours. Also, let's take a look at the RSI and what the RSI is actually showing us. You can clearly see that the RSI is right now currently in the middle of the purple area. That is looking very healthy to me. It could be giving us enough strength once we see eventually a breakout outside of this pattern to see a major increase in the price action of XRP, because we still have a long way to go to actually head all the way towards the overbought territory, and I think eventually see a return in its price action. But still, there is a lot of space right now, so there is still also a lot of gains to get from this trade. Possibly we are not spotting any type of bullish or bearish divergence. You can clearly see a higher low structure as well. On the RSI you are seeing a higher low structure, and on the chart you're clearly also seeing a lower high structure, and on the RSI you're seeing the lower high structure as well. So for me personally, it's looking quite good right now. The RSI is just giving me the confidence to actually think this might be a major breakout towards the upside. And how is that breakout going to possibly look like? Before measuring it, I will be actually placing a Fibonacci retracement, and to be as accurate as possible, I would be actually placing it from its prior all-time high all the way towards its most recent all-time low. So if we go all the way to this point in time, you can clearly see that we are right now trading right on top of the 0.5 Fibonacci level, a major level of Fibonacci, I think very important for sure. And if we see a breakout occur, it would be a breakout similar to this breakout what I'm drawing right now. I selected the beginning of this downward sloping resistance, especially because otherwise it would be a measurement that won't be accurate enough. So this is for me the breakout, how I measure this breakout of this pattern. If we see a breakout occur above this downward sloping sloping resistance, we will be heading above the 0.618 Fibonacci level at $1.41, and that would be something I think is very likely to occur, heading all the way towards the $1.57 and perhaps getting back down, finding support on top of the $1.41 level before heading even further all the way towards the $1.65 level on the XRP chart. Of course, we could also be seeing a breakout below this upward sloping support. This would be a potential breakout all the way towards the 0.236 Fibonacci at 85 cents, but I think perhaps this might not be very accurate, and I think it is more likely that we will see an increase in its price. And if we see a decrease and a breakout underneath this upward sloping support, I think perhaps we might be seeing a support on top of the 0.382 Fibonacci at $1.06, and as well the golden pocket entry, a major level of support as well. You can clearly see that in the past we were getting supported at that point in time, and as well we got rejected several times over here before we were able to break above this level of Fibonacci, and that is for sure something that is telling me that this will be a major level of support. So I think perhaps if we see a breakout towards the downside, we will be heading to accumulation zone above the $1.06. Of course, that would be also very nice to accumulate even more XRP, but I think it's more likely that we will see a breakout above this downward sloping resistance, find support on top of it, and see a major price action on the XRP's chart. So that is for me personally what I'm waiting for. And what is this breakout going to look like? It will be something similar to this, and that is a 24% increase in XRP's price action, either towards the up or towards the downside. So for now, I'm very glad you are watching this video. If you're liking the content so far, do not forget to give me a thumbs up down below, and also subscribe to the channel to stay up to date about all the upcoming videos. That would be highly appreciated. So lastly, what I wanted to discuss is actually the EMA ribbon on the 4-hourly chart compared to the US dollar, and what you're clearly seeing is that we are getting supported by the EMA ribbon at this point in time. I'm not saying that we will be seeing a breakout above this downward sloping resistance right away. I personally think that might be very possible that we will see a retest of this upward sloping support before being able to break out above this downward sloping resistance, find support on top of it, and see a major increase in its price. But I think eventually this pattern will break out towards the upside, and that is something I think is more likely to occur instead of retesting this zone at the 0.382, perhaps heading even further down. But I think that is very unrealistic, especially because we are seeing this major level of support of the EMA ribbon, and as well we are seeing, lastly, wanted to talk about once again the crossover on the MACD that might occur during the upcoming hours, and that for sure will give XRP even more momentum towards the upside. It might not occur right now, but I think perhaps in the upcoming 24 hours we might eventually see a crossover on the MACD of XRP. So thank you very much for watching this video so far. If you like the content, don't forget to subscribe, and see you on the next one. Bye bye.
When we go to Mars, I just hope that he remembers this. Used to shop on binance, now they got a chain. BSC pancake swap, the new game.